What's up, guys? Hope you're having a good day. The biggest tournament in all of sports kicks off this Sunday with the World Cup, and as many of you will know, I've been working really hard over the last year to become profitable betting on football. The reason being, at the moment, I earn a living from live betting MMA, but live betting MMA is a low liquidity betting market. This means that as soon as you earn just a few $1,000s profit on a betting website, they will shut you down and they will close your account. This makes it extremely difficult to build a big bankroll and have any kind of security or stability with how much you earn on a monthly basis. It's incredibly frustrating. Now, you will still get shut down by betting sites as soon as you make a few $1,000s profit betting football as well. But the difference with football betting is that it is the world's most popular sport. It truly is a global sport, and as a result, liquidity is much higher. Much more money is wagered on football than on MMA. And as a result, you can live bet football on exchanges like Betfair Exchange and betting brokerages without the fear of having to have your account closed down as soon as you make a few $1,000s profit. So I've really been drawn to football over the last year. I've been working really hard to become profitable at it. As you can see from the chart here on my website, things have been going pretty well. It's been extremely difficult. I've had to do a lot of experimentation to get to the point where I've been able to grind out these nice, steady, consistent profits. But every month I feel more confident that I've cracked, betting on football. And as a result, I thought it would be a good idea to make this video for you today where I go through tons of bets on the World Cup, things like who's going to win the tournament, who's going to win each group, who's going to finish the top goal scorer, in the entire tournament, and thought you guys might like that. Now, this video is just for a bit of fun. I don't have any kind of past results on bets of this nature. These are just fun prop bets for the World Cup, but I thought you guys might appreciate me giving my input on how I think the tournament's going to go, which players, which teams in particular I think are going to do pretty well. And even though I don't have any proof of past results betting World Cups or betting props of this nature, because to be honest with you, I've never taken it that seriously before, what I have done is watched a ton of football for the Nations League and the World Cup qualifiers leading into this tournament. So I've watched pretty much every single team in the World Cup compete 2 or 3 times over the last year. So I've got a pretty good idea of what to expect from all the teams competing at this year's World Cup. And hopefully that will, give you some things to think about and help you when you're placing your own bets on this year's World Cup. And the way I look at it is you're probably going to be betting some of this stuff anyway. So it doesn't hurt to give you guys my input. And can't do any harm. But as ever, remember to gamble responsibly. Making money from betting is brutally difficult. I've been working so hard to become profitable at football over the last year, and I can tell you it has taken an extreme amount of work. It is very mentally difficult, and I'm chained to my desk 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours a day watching football some days. It is a grind. It takes a lot of hard work, but gamble responsibly. Remember, everything in this video for entertainment purposes only, not telling you what to do. Do your own research, but I do hope you find the information in this video useful. And like I say, I've been watching all these teams competing at the World Cup over the last year. I've watched all of them 2 or 3 times, so I've got a pretty good idea of what to expect. And hopefully we can use that information to give us a slight edge, maybe earn some profit from these bets. I also want to let you guys know that now that I've built up a decent sample size of football bets and I've been profitable over a decent amount of time, I now share my football bets with other people via Telegram. So if you're interested in tailoring my football bets for the World Cup, all you need to do is come to my website, mmabettingtips.com. There'll be a link for that in the description below. Roll the mouse over where it says betting tips, go to the betting tips page, click sign up now. If you're interested, you can sign up. Just remember, if you are going to sign up for these football bets, just remember that I have never taken betting on a World Cup seriously before, and I'm still in the process, as you see here, of learning about football betting and doing extreme experimentation every month. So I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if I'm going to be profitable long term. Obviously, over the last year, I've performed really well, but who knows? Still very early days. This profit does come from a decent sample size and a lot of hard work, but I'm nowhere near as experienced betting football as I am MMA. So just know that if you are going to jump on board and tail these football bets, it's a lot more speculative than MMA that I've obviously been doing for a very long time. And I have made a video about the journey I've been on with football betting It's on my YouTube channel. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. So if you are thinking of signing up for my football bets for the World Cup, highly recommend watching that as well, because it's going to answer all the questions you've got. But for now, enough of all that stuff. It is time for us to dig into some bets for the World Cup. So in order to dig up really good value prop bets for the World Cup that hopefully we can be profitable from, I think it's going to be really useful to map out how we see the tournament going in terms of who's going to qualify from each group, and then which teams are going to be playing one another in the quarterfinals and semi-finals. And this should give us an edge when we're looking at betting markets like top goal scorer in the tournament. Because if, for example, we think someone like Neymar or Mbappe is going to finish top goal scorer in the tournament, but then when we actually map out the teams that they're likely to be playing throughout the tournament and find, you know what, I think Harry Kane or Mbappe are going to be top goal scorer in the tournament. And I can't work out which guy to go with, which guy to bet out of those two. But then we look at the teams that England are likely to be playing and France are likely to be playing, and then we see, you know what, the teams that France are likely to play as the tournament progresses have much better defences than the teams that England are likely to be playing. That might push us towards picking Harry Kane as top goal scorer in the tournament. So, if we just jump straight into the prop bets, it's going to be overwhelming for us to, identify good value bets unless we can kind of map everything out in front of us. And then we can refer to this as like a guide as we work through the World Cup prop bets to try and find situations where there's really good value in the odds, because people may not be thinking on this level or in this much depth about how the tournament's likely to play out. So let's start off by talking about Group A. So in Group A, we've got Qatar, Ecuador, Senegal, and Holland. So like I said earlier on in this video, I've watched every single one of these teams 2 to 3 times in the last year, be it either in the World Cup qualifiers or the Nations League. And out of all the teams competing in this tournament, for me, Holland were the best team in Nations League and World Cup qualifying. They're coming in with the most chemistry in the team. They're coming in with the most momentum. They've just got a really well-balanced team with a good style of play. They may not have the big names, the big match winners like England or France or Brazil, but for me, the chemistry and work rate across the entire team is top-notch. So no doubt I've got them as favourites to win the group. Now, I believe Senegal are the next favourites, but Senegal have been really poor this year in both the African Nations and World Cup qualifying. Senegal are a strange team because when you look at this squad, they've got, absolute world-class players top to bottom. You've got Edouard Mendy in goal, Koulibaly, one of the best centre-backs in the world, top midfielders like Idrissa Gueye, and then world-class strikers up front, like Bamba Dieng, who's been really good for Marseille, Dia, who's been great for Salernitana, and obviously Sadio Mane, who, is absolutely incredible as well. So on paper, Senegal do look like the second best team in Group A. And I think that the bookies have basically priced Senegal to qualify to the knockout stages as runners-up based on the fact of how strong their squad was or is. But Senegal was so poor in qualifying in the African nations that I actually think Ecuador will finish runners-up of this group. Ecuador were brilliant in the World Cup qualifying stages. They gave Brazil absolute hell in both games. And while Ecuador may not have like the big names that Senegal do, the work rate and chemistry of the Ecuadorian team is really, really good. They just work very hard for one another. They all put a shift in. They're just very well balanced, very good on the ball. And their striker, Enner Valencia, plays for Fenerbahce. He's an absolute top-class striker. He's been brilliant in the Turkish Super League this year. And he's a real problem for defenders to deal with. They may not have like the big name match-winning players like a Sadio Mane at Senegal, but I do think Valencia could do pretty well in this World Cup. When I watch Senegal play, they just don't work well together as a team. They've got great individuals, but they just don't work very hard, and they give the ball away a lot. They just don't move the ball very quick. They're very clunky, slow, and easy to defend against. Now, obviously, they're coming into a major tournament, and so their players are likely to be more motivated than ever before. Perhaps they will look a lot better in this tournament, but based on the World Cup qualifying games on African nations, they were just very, very poor. And the only reason why they're in this tournament is because they were gifted a lot of late penalties and were able to make it through a lot of games just by the skin of their teeth against very, very poor opposition. So for me, Ecuador are going to finish runners-up in this group. Then have Senegal in third, and Qatar obviously finishing in fourth place. Qatar probably, everyone would agree, the weakest team competing in this tournament. They're only really in this tournament because they're the host nation. And an interesting fact, the Qatar Premier League, which is called the Qatar Star League, was disrupted this season because the Qatar Football Federation was so concerned about them getting embarrassed in this tournament and absolutely destroyed that they actually sent the entire Qatari national team over to Germany this year to spend a few months training with German football teams to try and, get their players to the point where they'll be somewhat competitive in this tournament. But, realistically, they're probably going to get smashed in every game and, have no business really being in the tournament aside from being the host nation. So this is how I see Group A playing out. It's one of the more interesting groups because, Ecuador and Senegal are going to be competing for that second place. So let's take a look at some prop bets for the groups. So if we look at Group A, we can see that Holland are obviously massive favourites to qualify, pretty big favourites to win the group. Now, to be fair, because of how good Holland were in qualifying, I don't think the odds 1.44 minus 227 on Holland to win the group is that bad. I thought they'd be bigger favourites than that, considering how much better they are than the other three teams in the group. But if we look at the odds on Ecuador to qualify, even money 2.0 plus 100, I actually like that. I feel pretty confident that they're going to qualify out of the group. And I feel that with how poor Senegal were in qualifying, unless Senegal show up and look completely different, I don't really see a situation where Ecuador don't make it through here. So Ecuador and Holland, some prop bets for you to think about there. Ecuador to qualify at even money, Holland to win the group. Reasonably confident both those things are going to happen. Let's move on to Group B, which is another tricky group to call. So England have performed extremely badly during the Nations League leading into this tournament. They've looked very, very poor. There's just no energy in the team, no intensity. The players are not working well together, and they've really struggled against some pretty average opposition. Now, despite this, you look at the quality running throughout the England team, just world class from top to bottom in every position. They've got a lot of strength in depth as well. World class players to come off the bench, world class players to change a game if they're struggling. And so you would expect England to win this group. Even though they haven't performed well in the Nations League, it is going to be the dream of so many of the young English players to compete and represent their country in a World Cup. So you'd think they would step it up and perform better in the World Cup than they have leading into this tournament in the Nations League. Even though they were very, very poor, you'd expect them to look a lot better in this World Cup. Now, second place is quite difficult to call, and I actually feel that second place is up for grabs across any of the three remaining teams. I feel Iran, United States and Wales are all more than capable of finishing in second place here, because when you look at Iran, the USA and Wales, they don't have the same balance throughout their teams as a team like Ecuador or a team like England. There's strengths and weaknesses, and when you have strengths and weaknesses, on the day those weaknesses can cost you. So when I look at Iran, when you look at Iran's squad, again, similar to Ecuador, they don't have any, big names, any big match winners. Taremi's obviously dangerous, plays for Porto, Johan Kabash for Feyenoord, Azmoun for Bayer Leverkusen. They've got quality up front, but across the rest of the side, there's no world-class players in here. But like Ecuador, whenever I watch Iran play, they're just very resilient. They're just very well organised. They just work well together, and they work hard as well. You've also got to remember that with this tournament being in Qatar, the humidity, the heat, the climate that these countries are going to be playing in is going to be very difficult. But Iran are used to competing in this climate because their World Cup qualifying games, are against many countries in this region. And so I don't think the climate, the heat, the humidity is going to phase the Iranian players as much as it will phase the players from the other nations. And that could give them a slight edge. So when you look at the squads on paper, Iran are clearly the weakest team in the group. But with the climate and how well organised they are, I do think they can cause some surprises here. Iran are a very negative team. Iran's objective in games is to just nick the first goal and then park the bus and defend for their lives. And if they can get the first goal in games, they're very difficult to play against. So Iran's going to be one of those teams that'll either nick a 1-0 win or scrape out a 1-1 draw if they score first, or they'll get beat 3 or 4-0. With a team like Iran, it's all about the first goal. If you score first against them, they're in a lot of trouble because then they don't have the quality to take the game to you and compete. But if they score first, they're well organised. They just sit deep, make life difficult for you and keep it a tight game. The USA are an interesting country coming into this tournament because their away form is absolutely horrendous. When I've seen the United States in their World Cup qualifying games, I've been so impressed by how they play at home. High intensity, very hard working, well balanced, good quality all across the pitch. But in their away games, they're an absolute joke. There's just no work rate, no intensity. They move the ball slow. They're easy to defend against. Away from home, their players actually just look like they don't care. Their away form is very, very poor. Now, obviously, coming into this World Cup, every game's an away game, right? You're competing in Qatar, a different nation. But obviously, again, like we said earlier, it's probably been these players' dreams to represent their country and compete in a World Cup. So, will they raise their game? Will the United States we get in this tournament more closely be reflective of their performance in home games? Because if they show up and perform like they do in away games, they will lose every game. Iran will beat them. They're literally a joke away from home. I can't say I've never seen a team, but the difference in their performances home and away is absolutely staggering. So how well United States do in this tournament, for me, really depends on whether we get the version of the United States that show up at home games or away games. If the version of the United States show up that perform at home games, I think they will qualify out of the group, and I think they will finish second. But if we get the version that compete in away games, they will not make it out of the group. They will struggle against both Iran and Wales, as well as England. So with USA's inconsistency coming in from World Cup qualifying, kind of difficult to predict how they'll go. And then the final nation to talk about in this group, Wales. As you can see, I'm Welsh. I'm from the capital city of Wales, Cardiff. Got my Welsh gear on. Wales are a team similar to Ecuador in many ways, who, may not have the big names on paper. Of course, we got Gareth Bale that plays for us, but he's past his prime now. His better days are behind him. If you look at Wales, there's not tons of quality in the team. If we bring up the Welsh squad, very light in midfield, decent up front, to be honest. Guys like Kiefer Moore, Gareth Bale, Daniel James, they will cause opposition defenses a problem. You got Harry Wilson in midfield, but he's kind of a forward as well. When you look at our squad, I think we're reasonably solid defensively. Danny Ward's obviously looked great for Leicester in recent months. In attack, we're very strong. Midfield is very light, because I feel our best midfielders are attack-minded midfielders. We don't really have any, box-to-box, defensive-minded midfielders that can give that team that balance. But what I will say about Wales is that they're incredibly hard-working, incredibly resilient, and they work extremely well together. They're also very consistent, which is something that can't be said about the United States. So, when you look at Group B, I do feel Wales have got the best chance of qualifying out of the remaining three teams behind England, because for me, Wales are the most consistent team remaining. They're the hardest working. They've got the best chemistry. Consistency is a huge factor. And with Wales, I just feel they've also got the experience of competing in those major tournaments. You know, they've been in the last 2 European Championships. They play at a higher level, you know, in these European qualifying games. No disrespect to USA or Iran, but, you know, the level of competition they're facing to qualify for the tournament is nowhere near as high as Wales. So the Welsh players have got that experience playing together against world-class opposition. Aside from friendlies, Iran and USA don't really get that. So I just feel Wales are going to be, you know, more consistent, harder working, and no matter what happens in this tournament, you know Wales are going to absolutely show up and give their absolute best in every single game. The same can't be said about the United States. When you look at Iran, the problem with Iran is, again, I just don't feel they have the same quality as the USA or Wales. They're going to be a nightmare if they score early, but they just don't really have the quality to compete with the United States or Wales. So third place, I would go USA, and final place, Iran. But this is one of those groups where things could get very complicated. So let's take a look at the prop bets for this group. So you've got England to win at 1.33. I don't like that. I wouldn't mind taking Holland as reasonably big favourites to win the group, because I think Holland is so far above the other three nations in Group A that I'm pretty confident Holland are going to win that group. With England, even though on paper, in terms of their squad and the talent they've got, they're very, very far above every other nation in that group, they've just been so poor in the Nations League in the run-up to this tournament that I wouldn't rule out the possibility them having like an absolute nightmare of a tournament and struggling against Iran, USA and Wales. You know, every tournament you get that one big nation that just flops. Like a couple World Cups ago, I think it was Holland. I think the last World Cup might have been Argentina. I hope this isn't the case with England, because, you know, I want England to do well. You know, they've got so many exciting young talented players. Phil Foden, Jude Bellingham. You know, I would love to see England do well at this tournament, but their form coming into the tournament is very concerning. So I wouldn't pay a big price on England to win this group. And in terms of the odds on qualifying, I don't like the qualification odds here. I don't feel super confident as to whether the USA or Wales will take second place. I do lean towards Wales for their consistency, their hard work. But when you look at the odds of the USA and Wales to qualify, 2.0 plus 100, both in that even money odds range, that kind of does suggest that it's 50-50 as to which nation will qualify. So I would give that one a pass. And Group B probably looking a little bit dead there for me from a betting point of view. Now, if we look at Group C, this is a far more clear-cut group to predict, in my opinions. We've got Argentina, Saudi Arabia, Mexico and Poland. So the team that obviously should do pretty well in this group are Argentina, by far the strongest squad in the group. They should do well. They should win the group, no problem. Second place, probably going to be between Mexico and Poland. But I do, again, want to repeat with Saudi Arabia what I said about Iran, in that they are going to be used to competing in this climate, the heat, the humidity of Qatar, and that could give them an edge. Now, to be fair, the Mexico national team play most of their games in Mexico City, which is also at high altitude. So the Mexican players may deal very well with the conditions as well, and it could put Poland at a really big disadvantage in this tournament, not having that experience. Now, out of the three remaining teams that finish runners-up here, I'm going to go with Poland. But I do think this is one of those groups where Saudi Arabia or Mexico could nick that second place. I'm going to go with Poland purely because of the quality that they've got in their team. If you look at the Polish squad, you've got a big match winner up front in Lewandowski. You've also got Milik, plays for Juventus. They're just very well balanced from top to bottom. In the entire Polish squad, you've got players that play at the very highest level of football across the very highest level of Europe. and a big match winner, a big talisman in Lewandowski. Mexico and Saudi Arabia don't have that. They don't have anything like it. I mean, they don't even really have a talisman in either squad. They don't have match winners. And I feel in the World Cup, match winners are very important. In those tight, sweaty games, you need someone that's going to create a little bit of magic and grab a goal out of absolutely nothing. We know Lewandowski can do that. My concern for Poland will be the climate, right? How will the players adjust to the climate? Because they just so happen to be in a group against, you know, two other teams, Saudi Arabia and Mexico, that are going to be a lot more used to the heat and humidity of Qatar. So that could throw a potential curveball into this group. Now, in terms of Mexico and Saudi Arabia, one thing I will say about Saudi Arabia that makes them quite unique to every other nation in this tournament. So if you look at Saudi Arabia's squad, you can see that for the most part, most of the squad play together at club level. You know, there's only 3 or 4 teams here that make up all the players from the Saudi Arabia squad. And because of that, they do work very well as a team. There's a lot of chemistry within the Saudi Arabian team. And they work very, very hard. They're so well organised. When I watched Saudi Arabia in the World Cup qualifying matches, I couldn't believe how well organised they were and how hard they worked. So a team like Saudi Arabia, similar to teams like Iran, they can make life difficult for you, especially if they get an early goal and then they're going to play very negatively and defensively and just put a lot of men behind the ball. So again, Saudi Arabia, if they score first, they are going to cause nations like Mexico and Poland the problem that maybe aren't going to have that quality to break a team like Saudi Arabia down. I mean, Poland with Lewandowski for sure, there's quality there, but Mexico not so much. Mexico are not the team that they used to be. Mexico were very poor in the World Cup qualifying stages, and this is the weakest Mexico team I've seen, you know, in a long time. If you bring up Mexico's squad, you know, they've got players throughout the Mexican squad that do play at a high level, but for me, there's not the same quality in the Mexican team that we've seen in previous World Cups. So I will go Mexico in 3rd place, but I actually think, similar to Iran, Saudi Arabia can cause some surprises in that group and cause a little bit of trouble, mix things up a little bit, because they're used to playing in the climate, in the conditions, and they are very hard working and well organised. So if we look at the odds on Group C, Argentina to win the group, you know what? Odds are 1.40, minus 250. Again, similar with Holland. I don't mind that. They're so much better than the other 3 teams in the group. That's not bad. Then when we look at the odds on teams to qualify, I do also like Poland at 1.90, minus 110. Like I say, Mexico are particularly poor this year coming into this World Cup. And while Saudi Arabia, like Iran, will cause you a lot of problems if they score first, Poland are by far the better team out of Mexico, Poland and Saudi Arabia. So at even money odds, it's probably going to be Lewandowski's last ever World Cup with his age. I would go with Poland at 1.90, minus 110 to finish runners-up in Group C. So that's another decent prop bet there. Now let's move on to Group D, a far more clear-cut group for us to talk about. The first 3 have been a little bit complicated. This one is a lot easier because you've got 2 very good teams in this group, 2 extremely poor teams. So, France, you've got to back them to win the group. Even though France haven't looked great in the Nation League or, you know, games running up to this tournament, the thing with France is when the chips are down, they tend to get the job done. So what I noticed a lot about France's games leading into the World Cup is that for the most part, for the first hour or so, they'd be really poor. They'd be maybe losing a game 1-0, or the game would be tied. And then when they realised that the game was maybe slipping away from them, they would then have the quality to switch gears, raise the intensity of their play a bit, and go out there and get a result, either an equaliser or a winning goal. And that's something that not a lot of nations have in this tournament. France have got match winners all over the pitch. You know, when we talk about a nation like Poland, we talk about them having a talisman in Lewandowski. Well, you look to France and you look at France's squad, and they've got multiple talismen all across the pitch. Kylian Mbappe, Christopher Nkunku has been on fire in the Bundesliga. Kingsley Coman, Benzema, Griezmann, Ousmane Dembele. I mean, how many talismans do you want that can win a game for you? Quality all over the pitch. And so, even though France have looked a little bit lethargic and a little bit complacent in their games leading into the World Cup, they've got so many match winners that even if they do have a poor game, there's so many guys that can step up for them and still grab a goal out of nothing, still create a little bit of magic, and bail them out of trouble, right? If they make mistakes or have an off day. So France should win the group. Second, Denmark. They've been absolutely fantastic. They were fantastic in the last European Championships. They've looked good in the Nations League, good in World Cup qualifying games. Denmark are a really, really strong squad, and even though, again, they may not have the big match winners, the big talisman, the big names of other nations, I think Denmark are very similar to Holland in many ways, in that they just have a really hard-working group of players that work well together, have a lot of chemistry, and are very, very consistent. And I really like that about Denmark. They're a very well-balanced team. I think Denmark are going to do pretty well in this tournament as long as they don't run into an absolute monster in the first round of knockout games, which we'll find out in a minute if they do. But yeah, Denmark, very, very good team. And I think as time progresses, they could actually develop into becoming one of the top teams in Europe. When we think about the best teams in Europe at the moment, it's, England, Holland, France, Italy, ironically, who didn't qualify. I think Denmark can start to edge into that category where people start to take them more seriously because they're a top nation, man. Third place, I'm going to go for Tunisia. Now, Tunisia were very, very poor in qualifying as well. They didn't look good in the run-up to this tournament. But Australia are, in my opinion, the second weakest team in the tournament next to Qatar. Australia just very low intensity, easy to defend against. No real quality in the team. And just very clunky and lethargic. I think Australia will finish bottom of that group and will struggle very, very bad in this tournament. Tunisia, they didn't look great in qualifying, but they do have a decent quality of player in the team, far higher quality than Australia, and I think that will be enough to carry them through and see them finish above Australia in the group. So let's take a look at the prop bets on Group D. Can't imagine the prop's going to be particularly good here. They're not. Yeah, they're not. They're not. I don't like any of the props on that group. Let's go into Group E. So, Spain, Costa Rica, Germany. These groups are a little bit more straightforward. So, it is difficult for me to come up with a top pick out of Spain and Germany. Spain and Germany have the same problem, which is why it's very difficult for me to come up with a top pick here. Because Germany and Spain have been conceding a lot of stupid goals recently. Their defences have looked really shaky, which you would expect from Germany, who play high-intensity, heavy metal, open football. But you wouldn't expect that so much with Spain. You'd expect Spain to be a lot more well-organised, a lot more difficult to break down. But Spain have been leaking a lot of stupid goals, which is not good when you're going up against the front line as dangerous as the Germans. You think about some of the attacking quality that Germany have got. If we pull up their squad, guys like Leroy Sané, Serge Gnabry, Makuku's been brilliant for Borussia Dortmund this season. So, very difficult for me to pick between Spain or Germany. I'm going to go with Spain purely on the basis that I think Spain will deal better with the hot, humid climate of Qatar. If you look at the Spanish squad, a lot of the Spanish squad play in Spain, where obviously it's quite a hot, warm, sweaty climate for most of the year. And so I just think they'll be better prepared for competing in the heat and humidity of Qatar. So that's the only reason why I give Spain the edge over Germany. Spain and Germany both have a lot of quality throughout the team. I think Germany have probably got more match winners than Spain, but I think Spain are just better organised and more balanced throughout the team than Germany. So we'll go with that. Between Costa Rica and Japan, it's quite difficult for me. Costa Rica are a team who definitely don't have the quality on paper that Japan have. But like Saudi Arabia and Iran, they do have that underdog mentality where they are very well organised and very difficult to break down. They can be difficult to play against. So I would expect them to get smashed against Germany and Spain because they won't have the quality to stop Germany and Spain from tearing them apart. But they could cause Japan problems if they score the first goal. Costa Rica are another one of these teams that are very difficult to play against if they score first. They're very good at just making life difficult for you after that. Japan, to be fair, do have match winners. And they do have a lot more quality than Costa Rica. They've also got players that play at a high level across Europe. We've seen guys like Minamino do well at Liverpool. He's now at Monaco. And, I think it's Wader for Cercle Brugge. No, it's not. Where's the guy? Maybe he's injured. There's a Japanese guy that plays for Club Brugge, and he's absolutely brilliant. It looks like he's actually injured. He's not here. That's a shame. So, yeah, it looks like... I don't know the guy's name, but it looks like he's not making it to the tournament, so he might be injured, which is a bit of a shame. Unless he's signed for someone else. Can't remember the guy's name. Might be Marita. If Sporting Lisbon bought him, I'm not too sure. Anyway, there was a winger that played for Japan in World Cup qualifying. He was absolutely brilliant, but I don't see his name here. So it looks like he's either moved to a different club or he's injured. Let me know if you think if you think you know who I'm talking about. I'm pretty sure he played for Club Brugge, but I don't see a player from Club Brugge on here. So that could be a big blow for Japan. But yeah, you look at Japan's squad, much stronger than Costa Rica's, so you've got to go with them finishing third. But again, Costa Rica, similar to Iran and Saudi Arabia, if you let them score first, they can make life very difficult for you. So if we look at the prop bets, again, are props going to be interesting on this one? Not really. You've got Germany and Spain at even money odds range to win the group. Again, same with Wales, USA to qualify. I am close to 50-50 on that. So difficult to kind of, pick either one. I don't see, that group is a bit dead from a betting point of view. Let's look at Group F. So Group F is a very interesting group. This Group F is potentially a group of death. And I say that because on paper, everyone is going to be picking Belgium and Croatia to qualify from this group. On paper, they're by far the two strongest nations in Group F. But what's interesting about this group is that Belgium and Croatia looked very average in qualifying, while Canada and Morocco looked absolutely fantastic. And what you're seeing with nations like Canada and Morocco is that they're just developing world-class players, which they never did before. You think about Hakimi that plays for Morocco, or Jonathan David that plays for Canada. In the past, Canada and Morocco would, be nations that would come to the World Cup and just kind of make up the numbers, whereas they can legitimately cause you a problem now and have got, a really, really top-class level of player in their squads. You look at Alphonso Davies for Canada. And so this is one of those groups that I do think could get very interesting. Because if you look at Belgium, you look at Belgium's squad, and there's just quality across the pitch. I mean, Thibaut Courtois, probably the best goalkeeper in the world. I mean, how many match-winning saves did he make for Real Madrid last season in their run to win the Champions League? You've got match winners like Lukaku. Openda is an absolute nightmare for defenders with his pace. Obviously, Kevin De Bruyne, probably best midfielder in the world. So when you look at Belgium's squad, is the strongest squad on paper in Group F. But for me, Belgium is very much a nation of individuals. The players don't work well together. There's not a great deal of intensity in their squad. And while they do win a lot of games, they do score a lot of goals because, individuals like Kevin De Bruyne will pop up with a bit of magic and grab them a goal out of nowhere. They just don't really play that well as a team. And they always struggle in major tournaments because of this. And they haven't looked great in qualifying. So while on paper, Belgium are a top-class team and one of the strongest teams in the tournament, I don't expect Belgium to perform well in this tournament. And they could run into problems against teams like Canada and Morocco, because even though Canada and Morocco can't match that level of talent, what they can do is outwork them and just compete by fighting hard and being consistent and being more motivated to go out there and perform well. Even though nations like Canada and Morocco don't have the name factor of Belgium, they don't have the Hazards, the Carrascos, the De Bruynes, the Lukakus. If you look at a nation like Canada, what they do have top to bottom these days is a decent level of player playing at top leagues throughout the world, right? They are weak in defence, but Eustachio has been absolutely brilliant for Porto this season. You know, you look at Osorio, you know, great for Toronto. Up front, Tajon Buchanan, absolutely brilliant for Club Brugge. Larin, good for Club Brugge. And we know Jonathan David, top striker in the French Premier League. So even though they don't have the quality that Belgium has, on their day, they can give you one hell of a game. And the same goes for Morocco. You know, you look at the clubs that the Moroccan squad plays for. You know, top teams in France, Germany, and Spain. So even though, again, they may not have the big names that Belgium have, but these are guys that play at the highest level of the sport, and they can cause you problems on their day. So this is a very interesting group, because just like Belgium, Croatia are also not the team that they used to be. They don't have the same... If you look at Croatia's squad, a lot of their top players, you know, like your Luka Modric's, they're a lot older now than they have been in previous tournaments, and I just don't feel like they have the same quality in the team. You look at a lot of their attackers, you know, they play for clubs like Dynamo Zagreb, Hajduk Split. I just don't feel Croatia have the same level of quality in their team that they used to in past tournaments. The generation has kind of moved on, where the new crop of Croatian talent isn't as good as the old crop of Croatian talent. And again, Croatia are another team that haven't looked good in the run-up to this tournament. Not a lot of intensity, you know, in their games leading into this tournament. They just don't look like they care at times. They're quite lethargic. They move the ball slowly. So obviously you've got to pick Belgium and Croatia to qualify. On paper, they're the best two teams in this group. But this is one of those groups where I could honestly see any two teams from this group qualifying. So I will go Belgium to win the group. I will go Croatia to finish runners-up. I will go Morocco to finish third. And that is simply because, again, like I said with Spain, I feel Morocco will probably cope with the climate better than Canada. The heat, the humidity. You know, Morocco are used to playing in this climate in the African nations. In their qualifying games, so they'll probably have the edge over Canada. But when I put down my picks for that group, it obviously looks like if you look at my picks for the other groups, I've been quite dismissive of Tunisia and Australia's chances of qualifying, or Japan and Costa Rica's chances of qualifying. I'm definitely not dismissive of Morocco and Canada's chances of qualifying here. I do think there can be some curveballs in Group F. And we spoke earlier on with England about big nations. There's always a big nation in every World Cup that just completely flops. And I could see Belgium and Croatia being the kind of nations that completely flop. So if we look at the betting on Group F, we can see that the odds on Canada and Morocco to qualify, 4.0, 3.0, is probably a bit speculative to go for it, but there's no way that I would be betting on Belgium or Croatia to qualify out of this group either at big favourite odds. I just think I think this is one of those groups of death. It might not look like it on paper, but I do see every game in this group being competitive. I don't see Belgium just going out there and smoking Canada or Morocco. I think they'll give them a good game, and for that reason, Group F could be spicy. Now, Group G is interesting. Brazil have got such a strong squad coming into the tournament this year, and you would expect them to cope better with the heat and the humidity of Qatar compared to other nations like Serbia and Switzerland. So you've got to have Brazil as winning the group. They've got world-class players in every position. Brazil, top team coming into this tournament. The runners-up place is a lot more complicated. Serbia, Switzerland, or Cameroon. Now, just like Senegal, Cameroon were really poor in qualifying. They have a decent squad, but just a low-intensity team. They just don't work very hard, don't move the ball very quickly, and just don't work that well together. So I think Cameroon are going to struggle, and Serbia and Switzerland are far better teams coming into this World Cup than Cameroon are. Now, if you look at who is the better team, or who is more likely to finish runners-up, the better team on paper, in my opinion, is Serbia. The reason why I say Serbia is because they've just got more world-class players, more match winners. You know, Kostic has been brilliant for Juventus in recent weeks. Milinkovic-Savic is Lazio's talisman in midfield. You know, Mitrovic has been scoring so many goals for Fulham this season, and Vlahovic, in my opinion, even though he hasn't scored loads for Juventus yet, I think Vlahovic is one of the best strikers in the world. So when you look at Serbia, they've got a very well-balanced team, but they've also got top class world class players in there as well, which is very different from previous Serbian squads who have lacked that world class talent. When you look at nations like Serbia, Croatia, Denmark, what's interesting is, you know, in the past, Croatia have been one of the best teams in Europe, but I feel like their crop of world class players have either, you know, retired or got too old to the point where they're not capable of performing at the level that they used to. I feel like Serbia and Denmark are nations who are starting to develop to the point where they can maybe take over from nations like Croatia just by having better talent. You know, if you look at, for example, Serbia's quality up front, Vlahovic, Mitrovic, and compare that to Croatia. You know, Kramaric, Petkovic, it's just not the same quality up front these days. And I think as a result, you could see a nation like Croatia struggle quite bad in this tournament compared to other more up-and-coming nations like Serbia, Switzerland, Denmark. So for me, Serbia, on paper, second best team in this group. But if you look at Switzerland, they performed pretty well in the European Championships. And again, just a very well-balanced team. I don't feel they have the same quality, the same match winners, the same talisman as Serbia do. But I do feel they play better as a team. They work harder. There's more chemistry across the squad. But my pick for second place in this group is going to be Serbia. I think with Serbia, you've got players like Milinkovic, Savic, and Kostic who are coming into this tournament in good form. You've got match winners all over the pitch, and in a tough competitive group where, you know, this is another group where I think every game is going to be competitive. You need that little bit of magic. You need those match winners to grab you a goal out of nothing, to get you a late winner, a late equaliser, you know, to bail you out if you're not performing well or if you've made a mistake or given a cheap goal away. Serbia have got that. I don't think Cameroon or Switzerland have. Go with Switzerland in third place, Cameroon in fourth place. And now let's take a look at the betting odds on this group. So Brazil to win, a little bit too steep for me. I wouldn't take that. Serbia to qualify, 2.10 plus 110. I actually like that. I do think Serbia, with the quality they've got, Vlahovic, Milinkovic, Savic, Kostic, I think that's going to be enough to get him through, get him out of the group. Switzerland don't really have those match winners. They don't really have that quality. Or they do have quality, just not at the same level as Serbia. Serbia 2.10 plus 110. I do like the odds on that quite a bit. Let's now go into the final group, Group H. And obviously, when you look at the teams in this group, Portugal are by far the best team in this group. No doubt about it. You've got to have them as winning the group. Now, second place, little bit more tricky. Now, the reason why second place is more tricky is because there are rumours that Heung-min Son is going to miss the group games for South Korea, which is a huge blow to them because he is obviously their talisman, their match winner, the main man for South Korea. If he was likely to play in the group games, I would be very, very tempted to pick Korea as the nation to finish runners-up in this group. Because even though they don't have the same quality that Uruguay do, I do feel Korea are very well organised. They play high intensity, they move the ball quickly, and they work very well as a team. They have also got world-class players in the team. But without Song, I just think they're going to struggle. I just don't think they'll have that extra bit of quality they're going to need to go and beat teams like Portugal and Uruguay, especially because Uruguay pretty well organised, difficult to play against. They don't really give much away at the back. So because of that, I have to go with Uruguay as runners up. I just think that without Heung-min Son, Korea are going to lack the quality to get the goals they need to be able to make it out of this group. In third place, now this is where it gets tricky. Again, if Heung-min Son was playing in the group games, I would no doubt pick Korea over Ghana. Because again, Ghana, like Cameroon, like Senegal, didn't look good in qualifying. But they do have a lot of quality in the team. So I will pick Ghana for third place. I think without Heung-min Son, Korea are really going to struggle to do anything in this tournament. But if Heung-min Son plays in this tournament, in the group stages, then I think Korea could definitely nick that second spot. But missing out on Song is a huge blow for them. The odds on this group seem a little bit dead, so I wouldn't be betting anything group related on this one. Portugal, actually, no, I wouldn't take Portugal to win the group at big favourite odds because they've underperformed a bit in prior tournaments at times in the group stages. I would not take Portugal at big favourite odds to win this group, even though I think they will win the group. 1.61 doesn't really get me excited. So now that we've got the entire tournament mapped out with how we see the group games going, let's quickly run through the knockout games. So round of 16 games. If the groups play out like this, Wales will play Holland. As much as I would love to see my home nation Wales make it through the quarterfinals, for me, Holland are the best team I've seen in qualifying. It's got to go Holland. Argentina, Denmark. Very difficult game to call this. Take a look at Argentina's squad. So again, Argentina with a lot more quality, a lot more match winners, a lot more goal scorers than Denmark. Denmark don't really have those top quality players up front to put the ball in the net and goals win games. I will reluctantly go Argentina here. I do think Denmark can cause them big problems. I will reluctantly go with we'll reluctantly go with Argentina. I do think if those two were to play each other, it would be a very close, very competitive game. Argentina probably would just have a little bit too much quality for them. You'd have to favour England over Ecuador, have to favour France over Poland. Spain, Croatia, have to favour Spain. Croatia have looked particularly poor coming into the tournament. Brazil, gotta favour them over Uruguay. Belgium, Germany would have to favour Germany. Portugal, Serbia, interesting. Let's look at Portugal's squad. Yeah, you would have to favour Portugal. But just like Argentina, Denmark, that is a very competitive game that Serbia can certainly make very interesting. So quarterfinals, Holland versus Argentina. I like Holland in this game. I like Brazil to beat Spain because of how dodgy Spain have looked defensively. I think Brazil would tear them apart. England, France, would have to go with France there. Germany, Portugal. I would actually go with Portugal because of how dodgy defensively Germany have looked leading into the tournament. Semi-finals. So this is where I think Holland will fall short. Even though they've got a lot of quality in the team, they work very well together. There's a lot of chemistry. They're very hard working. I think Brazil are very well organised and they would just have too much quality for Holland. I think Holland are a little bit vulnerable at the back which isn't good when you're playing a nation like Brazil. So I'd have to go with Brazil. And in the other game, God, man, France have got so many match winners. How could you not pick France to end up in the final? So we've had a few World Cup finals between Brazil and France, and when you go through everything again, interesting how the final for me comes out between Brazil and France. So out of the two, who would I pick as the winner? Who would I pick as the winner? For me, it would have to be... Very difficult, this, actually. Do you know what? It pretty much is a coin flip at this stage, but I would have to go with France. I would have to go with France. I think the best player in the world at the moment plays for France. I think Kylian Mbappe is the best player in the world. And again, when you look at their forward line, it's terrifying. Kingsley Coman, Christopher Nkunku, Kylian Mbappe, Karim Benzema, Antoine Griezmann, Ousmane Dembele. Nightmare. Now I know that Kante missing out on the World Cup is a big blow for them, but you know, Tchouaméni, Guendouzi, Camavinga, I'm not saying they're as good as Kante, but similar sort of players that work very hard in midfield. And yeah, for me, I just think the France have got the better squad, the more match winners, better quality, and even though Brazil world class top to bottom, I just don't think they have the same quality that France do. I think France are a stronger squad. I think even though Brazil may be able to match France in terms of the starting lineup, in the second half when players are getting tired, the heat, the humidity is killing them. You know, France can bring 5 absolute world class players off the bench to change the game. I don't feel Brazil can do that. I don't feel like they've got the same strength in depth. You know, that's just how I feel about it personally. You know, bringing on guys like Gabriel Martinelli and you know, Richarlison off the bench as an example. For me, it's not the same as bringing on guys like Nkunku, Coman, Dembele. I just feel like France are just at a different level. So that's who I've got winning the World Cup, France. So now let's look at some other prop bets, because we dug up a few bets there in the groups, but let's see if we can find any other decent bets. So to win the tournament outright. Now, obviously, it's very difficult to pick the winner of the tournament outright. So many good quality teams in the tournament. The way I would approach it is I would spread my bets out. I would bet a little bit on Brazil to win the tournament, a little bit on France, and I'd also bet a little bit on Holland as an outside chance. At odds of 15.0 plus 1,400. I feel Holland are a decent gamble. Simply because, like I say, out of all the teams in the tournament, Holland were the best team I saw in qualifying. So they are the best team coming in. Now, as we know, major tournament, nations like Brazil, France, the players are going to be motivated. They're going to step up. They're much more likely to perform well in this tournament than they did in qualifying, where a little bit of complacency can creep in. And obviously those two nations would cause Holland big problems if they ran into them. So Holland the best team coming in. But I think, you know, if Brazil and France step it up, they're an absolute nightmare. I'd be surprised if any other nation won the tournament. I will say that. I don't know who's going to win the tournament, but I think it'll be out of Brazil, France and Holland. I'd be surprised if any other nation won it. For me, when you look at the other top teams, for me, Argentina just don't have... Not only do they not have the same quality as Brazil and France, but they also don't have the same chemistry or work rate as Holland. Argentina will hold their own. They'll perform well, but I just don't think they have that X factor to take the next step and win the tournament. England, for me, incredibly poor form leading into the tournament. They looked awful in the Nations League. And while, you know, pound for pound, they can certainly compete with, you know, the quality the France have got on paper. England arguably have the strongest squad coming in. They looked so poor in the games leading into the World Cup that I just can't imagine a situation where they would be able to win the tournament. It would have to be a total turnaround from what we've seen from them in their recent games. I don't think Spain are capable of doing it. They concede too many cheap goals. They're too poor defensively. Seems crazy to say that with how solid and well organised Spain have been over the years. But Spain they're so poor defensively these days that teams like Brazil, France, England with world-class attackers, they'll just tear them apart. Same goes for Germany. Very, very poor defensively these days. They're not as well organised as they used to be. And that'll cost them against teams with world-class attackers that can really hurt them. And again, like I've been saying throughout the video, nations like Portugal, Belgium, Croatia, they're just not what they used to be. You know, they're kind of living off a name a little bit. They don't have the same quality they did in previous tournaments. So I don't see them. I don't really see them. You know, in with a shout of winning the tournament, if I'm being honest. So Brazil, France, Holland, I would spread out a little bit on those three nations and see what happens. So top goal scorer, this is an interesting one. So the reason why it is so useful to map out the tournament like this is because you can see all of the teams that the different strikers are going to be going up against. So for example, if you just come to the top goal scorers prop page, you might be like, man, Gabriel Jesus has been amazing for Arsenal this season. He's going to play in that striker role for Brazil. He's got so many creative players around him that are going to create so many chances for him. At 26.0 plus 2,500, that's a great bet. I'm going to take Gabriel Jesus to finish top goal scorer. So I also think Brazil are going to go far in the tournament. But what we can do by using this here that we've mapped out is look at the types of team that Brazil are going to be playing. Because when you look at the group stages, Brazil are in a far tougher group than England and France. So if we look at the players who are favoured to be some of the top goal scorers in the tournament, Harry Kane, Kylian Mbappe, Neymar, Messi. My approach, my strategy for betting on the top goal scorer in this tournament would be looking at which striker is playing in the group which have teams with the worst defences. Because we know that the knockout games, quarterfinals, semi-finals, etc., they're going to be very tight. You don't generally get loads of goals in games like that because both teams are scared to lose. Both very tight games. And you're not going to see a gold fest in a knockout World Cup game. Both teams are going to be scared to lose. They're both going to keep it very tight. The bulk of goals are going to be scored in the group stages. So if we look at some of the top strikers in the tournament, right, you'd have to say Harry Kane, Kylian Mbappe, Cristiano Ronaldo, Memphis Depay, Lautaro Martinez. Will they play... It's difficult to say with Germany who will hold down number 9, right? Will they play Havertz as striker? Darwin Núñez for Uruguay, very popular at the moment with the trolls and the memes. So if we look at that, right, Lukaku for Belgium, let's look at the groups and let's see which nations have groups with the worst defences. So even though I think Holland are going to do pretty well in this tournament, they play... Actually, they could go pretty deep. They could go pretty deep. When you look at Holland, right, I think the problem I've got with Holland is they don't really have, like, that central focal point. Like Mbappe for France or Kane for England. Bergwijn, wide player. Gakpo, wide player. Depay, kind of a wide player, but he'll play through the middle for Holland. Weghorst, no chance. Luke de Jong, don't think so. So yeah, even though I think Holland will go deep, there's no one really there for me, which I think is in with a shout of getting top goal scorer in the tournament. Harry Kane. What I like about Harry Kane is he's obviously on penalties for England. And Wales and the USA are quite poor defensively. So there is scope for Harry Kane to score a lot of goals in that group. Then they should make it through Ecuador, and then they run into France in the quarterfinals. So that would be enough for me to not take Harry Kane as top goal scorer. The reason being, even though Wales and America have weak defences, we know Gareth Southgate plays quite negative football. He tends to go 2-0 up and then shut up shop. I don't think England are the type of team to really go for the throat. Like, if England are beating Wales 2-0 or the USA 2-0, I don't think they're going to go on and try and get that third, fourth, fifth goal. I think they're much likely to, sit back, take it easy, conserve energy, and focus on the next game. So for that reason, even though Kane's their talisman, Wales and USA have got bad defences, he's on penalties, I wouldn't take Kane, because again, in the round of 16, they're likely going to run into Ecuador. And while they should beat Ecuador are very well organised, a very tight team, difficult to break down. Brazil had a lot of trouble breaking them down in World Cup qualifying. So even if England beat Ecuador, they're probably not going to score a lot of goals against them. They might beat them 1-0, 2-0 maybe, 2-1. So again, there's not going to be tons of goals there for Harry Kane against the really tight defence like Ecuador. And then in the next round, they run into France. You'd expect them to lose that game and get eliminated. So yeah, I wouldn't take Harry Kane as 8.0. Argentina, I mean, they've got quite a soft group. Mexico and Saudi Arabia. When you look at Argentina, who are going to be their main attackers, right? Messi, Lautaro Martinez. I mean, Messi's more of a wide player, but he's probably going to be on penalties. He's probably going to be on free kicks. Martinez is going to be their main focal point through the middle. They're likely to... So who do they play in the quarters? Denmark. Yeah, Denmark are quite an open team. Not great at the back. They play open, heavy metal football. So you can get goals against a team like Denmark for sure. Then they run into Holland in the quarterfinals if they were to get through. So again, not a team that goes crazy deep. But you know what? Because of how poor Mexico and Saudi Arabia are... But you know what? No, Saudi Arabia well organised defensively. Poland are going to be well organised. Mexico are probably going to be the only dodgy team defensively in that group. Yeah, I would avoid Argentina. Yeah, I think our boy's going to be Mbappe. Tunisia and Australia, very poor. Australia, the second worst team in the group. Mbappe's on penalties as well. And Poland, not particularly amazing defensively if they end up playing France in the round of 16. England, again, not great defensively. They leaked all kinds of cheap goals in the Nations League running into the tournament. So England quite poor defensively as well. And then you'd expect France to make it to the final, right? If we predicted these groups correctly. So yeah, I think Mbappe at 10.0 is your boy. I think he's the best player in the world at the moment. He's France's talisman. He's going to start every game. He's going to play every game. He's going to play through the middle. He's their focal point. France are in a group with Tunisia, Australia, who are two of the worst teams in the tournament. Denmark are good, but they're very open at the back. They're not great defensively. And in the knockout games, Poland, England, Portugal... France have got, if the groups play out like this, France's path to the final isn't that difficult. Poland, England, Portugal, I think France would beat all them quite comfortably. So Mbappe's your boy, I think. Because if you look at Brazil, Gabriel Jesus, Vinicius Jr., I mean, Serbia, Switzerland and Cameroon, they'll all give you a game, man. No easy games there. I love Mr. Mbappe, top goal scorer, 10.0, plus 1,000. We'll take that. So we've done group betting. Yeah, we've done group betting to win the group. We've done qualification. Excellent. Group forecast. Ooh, this is interesting. So if we go Holland first, Ecuador second. That pays 3.0 plus 200. I like it. Next one, we go England first, Wales second, 3.25 plus 225. I like it. Group C, we go Argentina, Poland, 2.75. Like it. Plus 175. Group D, we've got France, Denmark, 2.0. I like it. Plus 100. Australia and Tunisia, very poor. Group F, the group of death. The group of death. I wouldn't touch Group F. I think that is a tough ass group to call. Group E, very tough. Spain first, Germany second. I don't like the odds on that. We will stay away from that. Group G, Brazil first, Serbia second, 3.0. I don't love it. I don't love it. I don't love it. Just I think Switzerland are in with a shout there and Nick in second. I don't love it, but it's not terrible either. And then Group H, Portugal, Uruguay, 2.50 plus 150. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. So there's some decent props for the groups as well. Group dual forecast. What is this? Okay. Oh, that's kind of betting the same thing. That's kind of betting the same thing. Yeah, it's the same thing, just a different format. I don't know why they've done that. To finish bottom of the group. Interesting. 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 Qatar, 1.57. I actually love it. They're the worst team in the tournament by a mile. Speaks volumes that their football association sent their national team to Germany to learn how to play football in preparation for this tournament. 1.57. Love it, love it, love it. Would take that. Group B, Iran, Wales, USA, England to finish bottom of the group. I'd steer clear from that. These odds on Iran too steep for me. Group C, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, Poland, Argentina. I would also steer clear of that. Saudi Arabia, two big favourites there. I like Australia to finish bottom of the group. Australia, very poor team. 2.2 plus 120 all day long. We take Australia to finish bottom of the group in Group D. Group F, tough. This is very tough. This is very, very tough. Again, Group F, group of death. Can't call it. Not touching that one. Group E, Costa Rica should finish bottom, but these odds are too steep for me. 1.50 minus 200. Not interested. Cameroon, 1.57. Let's have a look at Cameroon's squad again. Yeah, I'm not in love with the odds, but I'd be surprised if they didn't finish bottom. I'd be surprised if they didn't finish bottom. And Group H, I would avoid that group. I would avoid it. It's tough because if Heung-min Son doesn't play in the group games, I think South Korea will finish bottom. If he does play in the group games, they'll likely finish above Ghana. He makes that big of a difference to him. He gives the whole team a lift. So yeah, man, it's a no from me on that group as well. So to reach the final, I would definitely, I wouldn't go with Brazil. I wouldn't bet Brazil to reach the final at 3.30 plus 230, just because when you look at Brazil's run to the final, they've got potentially two really tough games against Spain and Holland. Even though I think they will beat Spain and Holland in the knockout stages, every game is tight. You know, every game's competitive. You know, it's a game of inches when you get to the knockout stages. Spain and Holland, two of the best teams in the tournament. So Brazil have got to go through some fire to make it to the final, man. France, on the other hand, their group is pretty easy. You know, they should definitely make it out of their group. They're levels and levels above Poland. They're a much better team than England, in my opinion. Much better team than Portugal as well. You know, even if, you know, France ended up playing the other side of the brackets, right? If they ended up running into, say, Germany instead, Serbia instead, yeah, I feel like France are a pretty good bet there to make the final. Just looking at the tournament tree, the path, I just don't see who's going to stop them. They should play Poland in the next round, right? If they don't, they'd be playing Mexico or Saudi Arabia. you know, they'd smash him. Then, yeah, Ecuador are not going to beat England. Yeah. France, man. France to reach the final. I like it. France to reach the final. To reach semi-final. Very interest. Very interest. Let's take a look. To reach semis. Who have we got? Holland, Brazil, France, Portugal. What's Holland's run like? They'll smash Wales. Argentina's a tough game. Who else have we got to reach the semis? Portugal. What are the odds on Portugal? Now, I don't like the odds on any of this. We'll give that a pass. To reach quarterfinal, this could be interesting. Okay, so who have we got in the quarters? Holland and Argentina. So Argentina would likely play Denmark. That is a tough game. So I would not take Argentina. Because Argentina's group, I mean, they should make it out. But if then they'd run into Denmark. There's not an easy game. Betting on teams that make the quarters. What are the odds on Argentina? 1.44. Yeah, I don't like that, because essentially you're betting on Argentina at odds of 1.44 minus 227 to beat Denmark. Pretty shit odds. When if that game did happen, you could bet on Argentina to win the game at better odds than that. Like, they're not going to be 1.44 minus 227 favourites over Denmark. So that's a honey dick from the betting sites. Actually, the odds on that are dreadful. Holland to reach the... I do like Holland to reach the quarterfinals, because Holland should definitely win this group. And if they win their group, they're going to be playing either Wales, USA or Iran. And they should absolutely smash all three of those nations, no problem. So Holland to reach the quarterfinals, I like that. I do like it. Who else have we got in the quarters? Spain, and what are the odds on Brazil? Brazil 1.44. Who would Brazil play? Uruguay. Again, like I do like Brazil to make the quarterfinals, but if they got to concede an early goal, get a player sent off, I think odds are 1.44 minus 227. You're not getting a great deal there. Or the odds on France 1.50. Play Poland. The odds are quite steep on these, man. Let's see if there's any curveballs. What are the odds on Portugal or England? 1.90. Not great. Nah, fuck, don't bother with that. Those odds are a honey dick. Outright forecast. What's this then? Ooh. What's France first, Brazil second? 41.0. That can't be right. There's no way. France to finish first, Brazil to finish second. There's no way that's 41.0. 41.0, man. There's no way. Yo, if those odds are real, which I don't... Am I misinterpreting this betting market? This means... Surely this means France to finish first, Brazil to finish second. 41.0. Literally crazy odds. If those odds are legit, I would take that. 41.0. That's the exact kind of prop I like. Loving that. Finalists. Brazil and France, right? Where are you, France and Brazil? 17.0. Yo, these odds are tasty. I love that. 17.0, 41.0 respectively. I love it. Is there any way that Brazil and France can run into one another in the knockout stages? There's not, is it? They're on opposite sides of the tournament tree, so they can't play one another in knockout. I love that. I love it. 17.0. I love it. I love that. Any other curveballs we can go for there? Because all these are, like, the odds on teams to reach the quarterfinals are really stingy. They're really tight. There's not a lot of value there. These odds seem Juicy. What about like Holland and France? Should Stockholm and Holland, right? Netherlands and France. Where is it? 26.0. Man, you gotta have some fun sprinkling these props. You gotta it just for a bit of fun. Make watching the tournament more interesting. Some of these props are juicy, generous. What are the odds on Brazil and Portugal? 26.0. You gotta sprinkle, man. Look, I'm not telling you what to do. Do your own research. There's just some things for you to think about, man. These betting markets are fucking interesting. Stage of elimination. Raz. This looks interesting. Okay, stage of elimination. Ecuador. Yo, I need to fucking get busy on these bets. Stage of elimination. Round of 16. 2.62. Love it. Stage of elimination. Quarterfinals. 3.50. Love it. No, sorry, semi-finals, even better, 5.50. Love it. Senegal, stage of elimination, group stage, 1.80. Don't love it. Odds are a bit tight. England, stage of elimination, quarterfinals, 3.0. Who do they play before that? Ecuador, love it. 3.0, love it. Iran, group stage, don't love it. USA, group stage, don't love it. Wales, group stage, don't love it. Argentina. Quarterfinals or semi-finals. I'm not sure about this one, man, because they could beat Holland, right? Last 16, quarterfinals. I would avoid that one. Mexico, group stage, love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Yeah, I don't see Mexico making it out that group. Even money, 1.80. Love it. Poland. Last 16. They're not beating France. Love it. 2.50. Saudi Arabia, group stage. Don't love it. Australia. Don't love it. Denmark. Round of 16. 3.0. I actually think they could give Argentina a game, so I don't love it. France. To win outright. Yes. Yes, we won't be doing that. Tunisia, group stage. Don't love it. Belgium. Canada. Croatia. Morocco. This is tough. This is the group of death. I'm telling you, man, every game in this group will be competitive. You mark my words. Don't even know what that expression means, but trust me, man, this group is the group of death. I'm not really gonna go there with that group, man. It's too tough for me. Germany, elimination stage. Round of 16, match 60. Yeah, I'm not sure about Germany because they're more than capable of beating Portugal on their date. So we'll leave that one out. Japan, group stage, don't love it. Spain, how deep do we think Spain are gonna go? How are the odds on them to go out in the quarterfinals? 3.0. Cameroon group stage, don't love it. Serbia, when do we say they're going to go out? They could beat Portugal. They're decent. They could cause Portugal problems. Portugal not the team they used to be. Serbia a lot better than they used to be. Vlahovic, Kostic, Mitrovic. See, this is where you can get creative with the props, right? And look to just bet on the randomness of the tournament. Say, for example, you think they've got a decent shot at beating Portugal, and then you bet on Serbia's stage of elimination to be the quarterfinals because you think they can sweep past Portugal. That's where you can start to get decent odds. 8.0. Switzerland, stage of elimination. group stage. It's tough, but I do think Serbia are a better team. So I don't hate even money on that. Ghana, no, not interested. Not interested. Uruguay, stage of elimination. They will not beat Brazil. Out in the round of 16, 2.25. Odds aren't amazing, but it should happen. What are the prop markets? I love these prop markets, man. I'm overwhelmed, but I love it. The winner and top goal scorer. Oh, now we're getting mental. Now we're getting crazy. What is France and Mbappe? These props are stupid. You do not want to place props like this, but they will make watching the tournament more fun. France and Mbappe, 34.0. Sign me the fuck up. I will sell everything I own and bet it on. Nah, I'm just kidding, boys. You know me. I don't bet shit like this. That is way too many variables for me, but 34.0. If you want to take some big gambles, not bad, right? Not bad. What group are France in for the winning group? Group D. Nah, that's just the same as betting France straight, right? Or even worse. Get even worse odds than just betting France straight. Right, winning continent. Nah, I'm not touching that. First time winner. No. Eliminated by penalty shootout. Whoa! England at 6.0. Yo, it is destiny that it's going to be coming home and all that shit, and then England lose a penalty shootout. How could you not have a bit of fun with that? Got to bet on England to lose by penalty shootout, surely. I know I probably sound like a bit of jealous Welshman right now, which I am. Obviously, England, much better football team than my home nation, Wales. But, you know, England have got a long history of being eliminated on penalty shootouts. So 6.0 plus 500, why the devil not? Otherwise, pretty much gambler on everything else there. Golden Ball. Who will win FIFA Player of the Tournament? Nah, that... Who knows, man? Who knows? No way to know. Highest scoring group. So this would be, I'm guessing, the most goals scored collectively in a group. Am I right in saying that? Or most points in a group? Because obviously, if you have a group which has a lot of draws, it's going to have a lot less points cumulatively than a group that has a lot of games that end in a win. Right? But I'm guessing this means goals scored. So what we want to do here is look at a group where you've got a mixture of teams that have got a lot of firepower up front. A group that have got a lot of teams with bad defences. And a lot of teams that just go all out attack. So on first glance, you could maybe look at a group like Group F, which is likely to be a very competitive group, and think, oh, that's going to be high scoring. You've got 4, you know, really good teams. But I wouldn't look at it like that, because a lot of those games are likely to be tight. I would instead go for a league where you've got 2 very shit teams in it that are likely to concede a lot of goals. So I would go either Group D, because Tunisia and Australia are very bad defensively, and they're very bad teams. France and Denmark are very good teams with a lot of goals in them. They will score a lot of goals. But France and Denmark aren't exactly amazing defensively either. They both do concede a decent amount. The other group I like is Group B, because United States and Wales play quite attacking football, but they're also quite bad defensively as well. England leak a lot of goals. Iran aren't great. But then you've also got to look at Group A, because if Qatar are going to be as bad as we think they're going to be, every team might just dick them 4-0. So that could be a high scoring group as well. So what have we got? A, B, D. A, B, D. 7, 6.5, 6.5. Play around with that. What do you think? Right, highest scoring team. Ooh. Gotta be France. 6.50. Easiest path to the final. One of the weakest groups. Sign me up. Lowest scoring team. Ooh. Qatar, surely. 13.0. For me, it would either be Australia or Qatar. 15.0, 13.0, Might have a bit of a nibble on that. I guess they've got like teams like Costa Rica and Saudi Arabia at bigger favourite odds because Costa Rica and Saudi Arabia are in tougher groups. That's like the logic of the bookmaker here. But you've still got to have quality to put the ball in the back of the net. And Qatar and Australia don't have that. Whereas I feel Costa Rica and Saudi Arabia are a bit more quality. Marginal. So I would go for that. We love it. We love it. Players to start the first game. Oh, this is just... Nah, this is just mad. Oh, it's only England. It's only England. Nah, mate, can't be bothered with that, mate. Can't be bothered with that. Exact group points, too much of a gamble. Team total goals, too much of a gamble. Top league goal scorer. What is this? Oh no, we're not in the World Cup anymore, boys. What's going on? Top team goal scorer. Oh, okay, yeah, here we go. Alright, so Ecuador. Valencia for sure. We were talking about how well he's been playing for Fenerbahce. 3.0 plus 200. I like it. England. Gotta go with Harry Kane. He's on penalties, but the odds are absolutely shit at 1.53. I wouldn't touch that. Taremi. 3.50. Do you know what? You might want to take a little outside shot on your Hankabash as well. He does work very hard for Iran. He creates a lot of goals. He scores a lot of their goals. Taremi's obviously their big target man. But a lot of their play goes through your Hankabash. So odds are 10.0 plus 1,000 plus 900. It ain't bad. Holland. Gakpo has been on fire for PSV, right? Gakpo's been on fire. Depay is like their talisman. 6.0 Gakpo. I mean, with how well Gakpo's been playing, might want to take a little sprinkle on him. Senegal. Sadio Mane, 4.50. Why not? USA. Pulisic, 4.33. He's going to be on penalties. He's going to be on free kicks. He's their talisman. Surely you got a sprinkle there. Wales. Gotta go Gareth Bale. Deadly from free kicks. Top quality player. He's on penalties. Gotta be Gareth Bale. Argentina. Obviously Messi's going to be on free kicks and penalties. But he's not the goal scoring machine he once was, and never has really been a goal scoring machine for Argentina. Lautaro Martinez is going to be their focal point, their central player, their striker. 4.50, I don't hate it, but obviously with Messi on free kicks and penalties, not going to be easy to outscore him. But remember, Messi's better days are behind him. What about going to MLS next season? I don't know enough about the individuals in Saudi Arabia to comment. Denmark, top goal scorer. Wow, Poulsen 21.0. I suppose the problem with, even though Poulsen I believe is like Denmark's best striker, doesn't always play, doesn't always start him, right? Sometimes brings him off the bench, starts with Braithwaite instead. Now Denmark, I don't like the odds on any of these. Tunisia, don't know enough about their top players, unfortunately. Mexico, Raul Jimenez hasn't been in the best of form, has he? Hasn't been scoring many goals for Wolves. Even though he's a big target man up front for Mexico, and I think he's on penalty duty for Mexico. Might want to look at Hervin Lozano there at 6.0. I know he's a winger, but he's going to be one of the most dangerous attackers for Mexico. Deadly on the counter with his pace. Lozano 6.0. Not bad. Mr. Lewandowski for Poland. Obviously, odds are terrible though. Australia. Do you know what? Jamie McLaren absolutely bangs him in the Australian Premier League. I would guess that Aaron Moy would be on penalties and free kicks. So you know what? Aaron Moy might be a cheeky little bet there at odds of 13.0. Because even though McLaren's going to get you more goals from open play, with how bad Australia are, they're probably not going to score many from open play. So if Australia are going to score goals, it probably will be from penalties and free kicks. And if Aaron Moy is the dude taking the penalties and free kicks, he's got a great chance of finishing top goal scorer for Australia. So I would go Aaron Moy. Croatia, Kramaric, Perisic. Again, you'd think Modric would be on free kick and penalty duty. So at 8.0, I know Kramaric is like their focal point, their target man. But Modric can score from open play, penalties, free kicks, 8.0. I don't mind it. Morocco, Hakim Ziyech, and Nasri. I don't have a strong feeling on this, but I would probably say En Nasri, only because Ziyech has got a habit, even though Ziyech is the most dangerous attacker in the Moroccan team, he does kind of drift in and out of games, whereas En Nasri is going to be that focal point for Morocco up front. I'll take him, 7.0. Germany. So Germany is more difficult because I don't know who they're going to play up front. Are they going to play Havertz as striker? Difficult. Will they play Makuku striker with Sane and Gnabry either side of him? I don't know. So without really knowing what formation and starting lineup Germany are going to go for, that one is difficult for me. Japan, I don't know enough about their attackers to say, unfortunately. Same for Costa Rica. I know Joel Campbell looked dangerous in World Cup qualifying, but I don't know enough about the other guys to know if he is more likely to be their top goal scorer. Spain, Alvaro Morata couldn't hit a bandor from 2 feet away. I'm not sure about Spain. Spain don't really have a goal scorer, in my opinion, which is what I think will cause them problems. Morata's obviously a striker, but he's not exactly clinical. Belgium, I like Kevin De Bruyne. I think Lukaku does tire out as games wear on, so the heat, the humidity of Qatar is likely to cause Lukaku problems. De Bruyne, free kick specialist, he's going to be on penalty duty. He can score from open play. Mr. De Bruyne for me. Canada, Jonathan David, absolute nightmare. I would go for Jonathan David. He's obviously the focal point, the main man for Canada up front. But Tajon Buchanan also has a lot of attempts on goal. He's very dangerous in attack. So 13.0 plus 1,200. Nice little outside bet there. Might want to take a little sprinkle on that. Cameroon. So obviously Abubakar, Choupo-Moting are going to be the strikers for Cameroon, but Toko Akambi, whenever I've watched Cameroon play, he's been by far their most dangerous player. So I know that he's a winger, he's going to have more of a creative role, but he's got blistering pace, cuts inside a lot and likes to have a shot on goal. Akambi 7.0 plus 600, I don't mind that. Switzerland, Mbolo 3.50, Seferovic 5.50, Shaqiri's getting a bit old now. I'm not sure about this one. Shaqiri, Seferovic and Mbolo are going to be their 3 top goal scorers, but either one of those 3 could take top pick in my opinion. Korea going to stay away from, because if Heung-min Son plays the group games, he's nailed on to be top goal scorer. We don't know if he's going to play or not. Uruguay, Suarez, Darwin Núñez, Cavani. So I would stay away from this one. Núñez, Suarez, roughly the same odds. Suarez is old, not as good as he used to be, but I watch him in the Uruguayan Premier League regularly, and he still absolutely bangs him in for Nacional. Obviously now it's going to be a higher level of team he's going to go up against in the World Cup, so he might not be as prolific, but he's a lot more clinical in the Uruguayan Premier League, even than what we see from Darwin Núñez. But then Darwin Núñez is playing against a much higher level of defender on a weekly basis in the Premier League. But I'm not sure. Núñez is a little bit greedy, little bit of a headless chicken, not that clinical. Suarez still got that clinical edge to his striking. So I would take Suarez, but I don't like the odds. I would stay away. Ghana, Andre Ayew, Jordan Ayew, and Naki Williams. Is Naki Williams playing for Ghana? No way. I thought he was Spanish. No way. No way. Okay, well then I love that. Inaki Williams, 7.0 plus 600 all day. Inaki Williams, by far the best attacker in this group of players. Andre Ayew, painfully, I don't know what the word is. Like, I want to say painfully not clinical. Inaki Williams all day long, 7.0 plus 600. I thought he was Spanish. Obviously he is Spanish, but it looks like he's taking Ghanaian nationality to play in the World Cup for Ghana. Fair enough. Fair enough. Portugal, Cristiano Ronaldo, I'd assume would be on penalties and free kicks, although Bruno Fernandes may have something to say about that. I'm not sure about Portugal. Certainly wouldn't take Ronaldo. Hasn't been in the greatest of form lately. Outside picks, I would go with Fernandes because he might still take some free kicks, and if Ronaldo were to get injured, Fernandes would be your penalty taker, and again he can score from open play. Guy is a fucking beast. Brazil, Neymar, Richarlison, Vinicius Jr., Gabriel Jesus. Very difficult to call for Brazil because you've got so many dangerous attackers. I wouldn't go with Richarlison. Neymar's likely to be on penalty, free kick duty. The odds are way too steep for me. Vinicius Jr. is a nightmare up front. Yeah, I would stay away from Brazil. There's too many possibilities there. Serbia, Mitrovic or Vlahovic. So Mitrovic has obviously been in much better goal scoring form leading into the tournament. He's been banging them in for Fulham in the Premier League. But I do think Vlahovic is one of the best strikers in the world. Hasn't been scoring loads for Juventus, but I think a big part of that is that Juventus just haven't been playing that well. I do actually like Vlahovic to be top scorer for Serbia. Now, it's difficult to say who would be on penalty duty. Obviously, Mitrovic takes the penalties for Fulham, but wouldn't be surprised if Vlahovic takes the penalties for Serbia. So I would say Vlahovic is your boy in Serbia. 4.0 plus 300. We love it. Obviously, Kylian Mbappe 2.25 plus 125 going to set the entire tournament on fire. I think he's going to do very well. And now, have we got any more props? Tournament totals? Oh, I'm touching that. That's way too speculative for me. Yeah, this is all crazy speculation. Most assists? Yeah, it's too speculative again for me. Not touching that. Competition specials. FIFA Young Player Award. Too many possibilities. Too subjective as to who would be picked. Not taking that. I think that's it. Think that's done. Think we're done. Think that's the props. So, hopefully you found that useful. Remember, this is all for fun, just to make watching the games more interesting. I figure most of you are going to be placing bets like this anyway to make watching the tournament more entertaining. So I thought, I'm going to be placing bets like this myself to have a little bit of fun. I could just go through with you guys, share my thought process, maybe give you some things to think about, some hints, some tips, some bets to go for yourself. And hope you found that useful. If you did, hit the like button below. Subscribe if you haven't already. And if you want to get access to my live bets for all the World Cup matches, head on over to my website, mabettingtips.com. Go to betting tips, football betting tips. Here's my results. Link in the description below. And I hope you all enjoy the tournament. I hope your country does well. Not too well if you're playing Wales, obviously, But yeah, have a great time, everyone. Enjoy the World Cup. And hopefully you found this useful, and hopefully some of these bets will end up returning a profit. So nice one, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Take care. Love you all. And bye.